I am doing a critical discussion on chapters 3 through 7 of the text of the coaching styles described. I was not able to figure out how to do a team's meeting by myself because I tried to keep turning it on and it still won't work. So I'll be doing the team's meeting. I'm trying to hold my phone up so I can record myself what I wrote down. So basically, I wanted to focus on the coaching styles outlined, in the chapters 3 to 7 of the text, which was command style, task, practice, reciprocal style, and self-check style, and inclusion style. So what stood out to me in these chapters was not only how each style has a unique place in coaching, but also how understanding the purpose and the best application of each can help us become more intentional and adaptable coaches. So I'm basically going to be reviewing main ideas from each chapter, specific quotes that I got, like the guideline says, what I agree with, disagree with, and explain why on both sides, and then, sharing new insights I gain and reflecting on how this basically is the specific type of content, has I guess impacted my own coaching philosophy, because I'm not a coach obviously in itself, but one day if baseball doesn't work out, I would like to be a coach. And so listening to these and reading a bunch of these kind of played a part in how I kind of viewed, I guess, coaching, because I always thought that, coaching was just speaking like, hey, do this, do that. There's you just got to do something specific for each thing. And I didn't know there was specific things that went into coaching and different types of coaching that you become. And I kind of learned more about myself, and as a coach. So I will say me going through this is definitely hurt and not helped. So I will just be going through this and detail each one. So command style coaching, it said it was the authoritative style, basically, the powerful, could be problematic type of coaching. It's characterized all decisions, hey, this is what success looks like, this is what we should do, this is how we should be, those are the old school type coaches, I would say. Because I would say my dad is an old school type coach, born in the 60s, coached through coached the 80s and 90s, this is this, we got to do fundamentals, this is how we play, the command style, command coaching is what is taught is how it's taught, success is what it should be, and we breed success. And so the quote I say stood out to me was, I wrote it down, there it is. The command style creates a tight alignment between stimulus and response. So I definitely agree with this, because especially for situations that demand precision, and safety, and teaching proper stuff like rock climbing or running in baseball, and in this contact, I guess the coach's control ensures that the players don't stray away from important step, which could lead to injury, or you can be confused, embarrassing. But I would say, quote that I saw was that the style may become perceived as coach's dominant approach rather than one tool in their coaching repertoire. It made me think more differently. I wouldn't say I disagree or agree, because it's different, but I disagree with the idea that it should be dominant, because overusing a command style of coaching can limit player autonomy. So if you have someone that has a creative mindset or intrinsic motivation, someone wants to have independent thinking, especially baseball players, we got to sometimes think independently and create stuff for basketball players. We got to create up a move, because everybody's seen that typical, hey, crossover, pull up, the typical stuff. So the commands coaching kind of limits players ability to create and be cool with the stuff they do. So I definitely it should be reserved for structure and safety stuff. I definitely learned that command coaching style is a clear, structural, pre-impact planning type coaching style, and post-impact feedback type. So I said overall, like it's made me more aware of like importance of clarity and structure when teaching. But I personally wouldn't rely on that because just like it kind of just brings you like a warden or like a drill sergeant type of coach, and I wouldn't put that into like my coaching style, like and especially addressing safety and like when it comes to like drills, yes, I would definitely do that. So, but it plays a role in me. The coaching by task style, it's more of a decision making to players. Like I definitely saw like it was like a balance between structure and nothing and autonomy. Like one of the quote I saw was the quality of practice, not just duration and frequency, like influences learning outcomes. So basically, like it aligns with like what you observe as an athlete specifically. Like going through the motion doesn't build skill. Like hey, like don't just sit here because I'm a baseball player. Like sit here and just load back and just like slowly swing. Like like practice like you play. Basically, like you need to like the coaching style sets up like structure and expectations. So, but the players control like the pacing of the practice. So like it's basically useful specifically in tennis or like maybe like skating if it's a sport. I mean, I'm not sure if skating is a sport, but yeah, tennis and skating where you need to work on your fine motor skills at your pace because you can't sit here and just try to force someone to like, hey, ski as fast as you can because you get hurt seriously. So that's where the command coaching also plays a part in too. But I'll say that what was new to me was like the kind of autonomy that improves the skills retention, but like also supports like, cognitive development. It made me realize, I guess, like, giving players space to repeat movements independently, like while still providing feedback is like a great way to help them internalize skills. So, I would say like applying this though, when you're like creating drills, like trying to like create like creative type drills, like to give athletes, give them responsibility, like when allow me to coach more effectively, it would basically allow me to, I guess, see like within structured practice, there's like room for personal growth and stuff like that. And then on to reciprocal coaching, it's introduced like, the idea of peer coaching where like players, like, I guess, like observe their teammate, they give each other feedback. And I feel like that's one of the best type of coaching because you can learn from anyone. Like I've learned that from a young age, you can learn from anyone. And the quote that shocked me was players who alternate between these roles perform as well or better than those who practice physically. Yeah. Because me personally, I didn't find that hard to believe because I know from a player standpoint that when you're not coaching someone, giving someone help, reciprocal, and then they're giving it to you or what they see, especially if you receive that in a good way instead of like a dickhead way, a bad way as most people show it, then it kind of like makes sense. Like it makes you give you a deeper understanding in some ways that what you're watching can help you. I remember another statement was like the coach speaks only to the observer. So it's like kind of seems counterintuitive, but like forces the observer to develop like an ability to give like a constructive feedback, which is sorry, my phone rang, but yeah, like it might seem counterintuitive, but it forces like someone who is watching it to develop the ability, like give a clear, constructive feedback, which is obviously vital in leadership skill. It's not just about physical skill; it helps you grow socially, I guess. Like I wrote down, it was like improving communication and observation and empathy. I definitely underestimated how, like, I guess, valuable structured peer feedback could be because, like, I thought players, some players don't take each other seriously, especially when it's someone you have fun with on a daily basis. But, like, the right space and right criteria and guidance from the coach, it definitely is a powerful tool, and I'll definitely consider, like, using it with a small group or, like, if I ever coach, like, or people that I train sometimes, like, specifically for me, if you're recovering from an injury, like, you can't physically participate, but mentally you can be engaged with that. And then there's, self-check style coaching. That's one of the most, like, interesting to me, I say, because it definitely emphasizes guided reflection and independence, like, the quote I saw with the text that said, like, heightened self-awareness may help athletes, counter negative effects of performance pressure. Definitely agree with that because athletes who, like, can assess and adjust on their own are more resilient in the competition. I also appreciated the statement, when they said the coach must resist the temptation to direct and tell because it's tough for a lot of us who like just want to jump and fix things immediately when some people just don't work on that. Like the emphasis on like using tools or like video analysis and self-rating checklists, like some people don't like think how useful it would be, but technical sports, specifically feedback sports, like for mine, like baseball, like having a hitter review, their own swing on a live session is the greatest thing ever, because like you can identify like went well, like, hey, like recording like, hey, this is what went well, that hit was good, this is not, that accountability is built, and then just kind of get a self recognition of what you can do. Definitely want to include that in my coaching, because like in the future, like athletes who are transitioning to higher levels, like they building a habit of self-assessment makes you better in the next level, because you get to a grown man stage where you can't just like, someone's not going to tell you every 5 minutes like, hey, do this, do this, do this, do this. Like sometimes it's not going to work like that. So definitely want to include that in my coaching, because like athletes who are transitioning to higher levels, like like it makes it better. So then you got inclusion style coaching, inclusion style coaching, focus on the multiple entry points. Athletes can find an appropriate challenge level. The metaphor used in the chapter, like slanting a rope, so each athlete can find their jumping height. Like it visually made like it clear how important it is to match a challenge to an ability. Another quote I saw was, the coach doesn't dictate the appropriate level, but guides players through questioning. Very much agree with that one, because it's an approach that supports athlete autonomy and builds decision-making skills. But I didn't realize before, it was like the style only helps like struggling athletes, but also challenges more advanced ones. For example, like, the baseball example, where players choose between like, tee work and I think it was announcing pitches or live hitting. Each player gets to work at their level while still being pushed. Made me reflect, specifically being a baseball player who's also trying to heal from an injury that I had 18 months ago. Also made me reflect on how often athletes give up when tasks are too hard or coast when they're too easy. Like, for example, like when I was like a player that was not healthy, I was successful, I was better than a lot of people. I'm not calling anyone bad, it's just, I would coast a lot, like, and I would own up to that. I would just take my time, like, not trying with a lot of stuff. But then it made me realize, like, like it was too easy, so I just would coast, and I would suffer from that. But then when I'm injured and I'm trying my best, I'm like, man, like it's too hard, like I'm trying, like it's like, so like it makes me like me being in those two like type of like I guess places, like it's like, dang, like it made me realize a lot of what I've I guess been missing, and like how I've been so like myopic from certain things. Definitely influenced my coaching philosophy in a big way, because like I definitely want to start building drills. I kind of take coaching like not as serious, because it's just make money, but I form bonds with kids, and it kind of wants to be a thing that I want to do in the future, but never really sure, because sometimes like it might be better that you have a 20-some-year-old coach that's like giving you advice, but it may not be at the same time. I want to build like challenge series and teach athletes that I've coached with to like select the right one for the development. It's not about meeting players where they are, it's about helping them grow at that point, move forward, because they're there to further help. Like, I know the kids I coach, like, it's a young age, so like it's a great way to like start them like young and just get them acclimated to certain things, but it's not the best way to just push and expect them to be like the greatest players ever. I say lastly, reading and reflecting on these coaching styles definitely expanded my understanding, like what it means to be an effective coach. Like each style, command, task, reciprocal, self-check, inclusion, has been like strength in ideal context. What I've learned is definitely like great coaches aren't like locked into one method. They use the right tool at the right time based on the situation, and what their athlete needs. Like, and not everybody athletes works the same. And I think the problem, especially like with the command style, like they think like that old school thinks that, everybody works the same. We all got to do this. Y'all got to do this, A, B, and C, black and white. It's just like some people are different. And there's injuries. Like, I personally have come like to the value of balance between structure and autonomy, because I definitely want to be more intentional, like giving players ownership over their learning. Like, especially like whether it's through like peer feedback, self-assessment, or individualized challenge points. I definitely want to coach in a way in the future that not only builds skill, but also fosters confidence, resilience, and leadership. I just think that, certain ways, like, as players like when especially when you're a player that coaches, it kind of just gives you like, yourself like realizations like, dang, like I definitely can uh be like a better like player sometimes because, you know, I remember seeing like it said like inclusion style in tennis was like rally like the pros, like those effective coaches like tailor content, and instruction to match specific learning and readiness and interest in. Like players face a challenge. Like I remember the quote said like how might you conduct a consistent rally with your partner, but with multiple entry points based on like individual ability. Like the coach is giving you several challenge point modifications. Might choose to allow the ball to bounce once or twice before returning. Like might first like tap the ball, like show him making a shot. Like basically the coach is observing and challenges and engages players in conversation about their selection. Making you like you're refining your decision making process. So like you're thinking that like basically helps you like in the future. So like you're making the right decision the way a pro would instead of just like an amateur would or someone that's just not as well toned in their skills. So I definitely appreciate like reading about this. It was kind of obviously harder like talking by myself, but reading through that and then going back to chapter 1 through 2, like I definitely got a lot more an understanding of like why like a lot of this is important. So I will be uploading 2 videos.